And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
this a ticket, talking Mazda for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. And we're back for another week. You are tuning in. We are streaming live and direct on 5 different platforms: Amazon Fire TV, as well as Roku TV, as well as LinkedIn, Facebook Live, as well as YouTube. If you haven't already, please go to YouTube and search for Empower TV Network. Click on the bell. It'll let you know anytime that we go live or add any content. And you'll also be able to catch up on any other content that's already there. Plenty of videos to choose from, as well as if you go to our Amazon Fire TV / Roku channel under Empower, you'll be able to not only see this show Head to Head with Brian Parker, but you'll also be able to see a variety of other shows and programs, short films, feature films, a lot of things that we house on that site. While the show airs live on Thursdays, typically we also have it available on those platforms the following day. And in addition to that, we during the NFL season for 26 consecutive weeks, myself and my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove, host a head-to-head sports show, same time, 7 o'clock, but on Wednesdays. And you can catch it on all 5 platforms as well, where we break down what's going on in the NFL, the games, and things of that nature. While we're in the preseason, every week we'll break down 2 divisions in football. So we've already done the first week we took care of the AFC and the NFC East. Last night we took care of the NFC and AFC West. And this coming Wednesday, we will be looking at the NFC and AFC North. And then the final week, that Wednesday, right before the Thursday night game between Detroit and Kansas City, we will look at the NFC South, the AFC South, and also have our season predictions. Each show we normally will rank the teams 1 through 4, as there's 4 teams in each division, where we're projecting them to end the season. And then on that very final preseason show, then we'll take those division winners, shake it all up, and forecast out our wild card teams, as well as Super Bowl picks. So please stay tuned to that. We try to do our best to break down the teams, tell you who's up, who's down, who's hot, who's not, what to expect from the teams, how well do they do in the offseason with regards to drafting, free agent signings, coaching changes, injuries, roster shakeups, all those types of things. We really try to go a little bit in depth with it, with head-to-head sports. So check that out. It will be with us all the way through, I guess, the second week of February through the Super Bowl. So stay tuned for that. All right. All those bills have been paid. So we're a little short tonight, but for some reasons, Lori is out sick. I apparently gave her what I had a couple of days ago because I was really, really down and out just a few days ago. And I started feeling a lot better yesterday, a little bit the day before that, but really started getting my strength back mostly today. But it kind of put me down. I don't know what was running through my system, but apparently I gave it to her too. So she came down with it yesterday afternoon, just out of the blue. And that's kind of what it did to me too. There were no signs like a flu or anything where you start to kind of feel a little scratchy throat and, maybe a little fever. It was none of that. It just, bam, it just hit. And I ain't gonna even go into detail about what it did, but the whatever it did to me is doing the same thing to her right now. So, you know, I know she'll be okay in another 24 hours or so, but it just does not feel good while you're going through it. So we hope that she gets better soon. And then I know CJ is. I would have been surprised if CJ would have been on because today is his anniversary. Um, but I would have appreciated the commitment. But then I would also not have a couch for him to sleep on. I would not be providing that. So CJ is doing the right thing. Uh, He's trying to make sure that he continues to keep a happy home. So we wish him a happy anniversary. You can always catch CJ on YouTube as well, on his YouTube channel and his show Elephants Exposed. But I am joined by the one, the only, the franchise, Mr. Jermaine Parker. How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing okay. Um, and happy anniversary to CJ. And sorry, Lori. I hope you feel better soon.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure she will. I'm just keeping my distance because I do not want any part two of that mess. I got the Lysol cans going and all of that. So yeah, we ain't even gonna be near each other for right now till she.
It might be that new strain of COVID.
Well, it could be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't having any respiratory issues or anything like that. It was just straight intestinal.
Yeah,
That's as far as I can go with it. I don't want to, you know, freak
no,
nobody
you're
out.
good. You're good. We can move on.
Yeah. You can
So,
pretty
so
much figure out, what was happening with that.
yeah,
Uh,
what else you got?
huh?
What's first up?
First up is diapers. No, I'm just kidding. Could have used them, but no. Anyway, so first up, Jermaine, I don't know if you uh heard about the Republican um debate that happened last night.
I didn't get any details from it. I do know that the front runner did not attend. What I did hear about it was is that people who were trying to land blows on an absentee Trump were getting booed. So
Yeah, I did watch a huge chunk of it. And people a lot of times will say, why do you watch that when you're not a Republican, obviously. And I always tell people, I've watched Fox News, I've watched other outlets when Rush Limbaugh was alive. I used to sometimes would listen to some of his programming, and it wasn't because uh I wasn't sure of what I believed, but it was because I was sure of what I believed. And a lot of times it's good to hear opposing views for several reasons. I think, Jermaine, is number one to me is that sometimes even people that you oppose most things on do sometimes say things that you mildly agree with. Sometimes people just sometimes have different levels and extremes of things. It's not that what they're saying isn't rooted in good principle, but anything that's overblown can then sometimes take it where, okay, I was with you up until this point, but now you're taking it a little bit too far. I'll give you a perfect example. There's always been this thing about means testing for people uh, to be able to get unemployment checks and things like that, or any kind of disability assistance and things like that. And I'm not totally against that, to be honest with you. Because I too, I work. God knows I work a job. I work. I have Empower now. I got real estate. I do so many other things on the side. So if you're an able-bodied person, I do believe that you should be able to get out there and work, if at all possible. But also having a parent that's elderly that relies on Social Security, Medicare, and all that kind of stuff, then you do understand that there are instances too where people do also rely. Jermaine's mic is low. Okay. Well, thank you, Sarah Parker, for letting us know that. I can hear him just perfectly, but I have earphones on, so yeah, I didn't hear any issue with your mic, but maybe it's coming through that way over the
Uh,
platform.
is it louder now?
Yeah, let us know if it's louder now, and I'll break up what I was saying. But so I don't have a problem with means testing to an extent, but people overuse that really as an exclusionary method of people that really do need certain benefits. So it's just stuff like that where, yeah, I can see in a vacuum why you want to make sure that people aren't overusing something or taking it away from people that really do deserve it and do really need to qualify for it. But a lot of times, what I notice on the right, a lot of times is that it kind of gets taken into a whole nother direction where basically they're just saying, we don't really want to give it to nobody. We're
Well,
just using
I
it.
think part of the problem is that poverty has been demonized.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so the same people that want those kind of means tests, I'm like, that's fine. I'd like to have the same, or not the same criteria, but like to have a means test for when we bail out private companies and stuff.
And
I'd like
banks.
in banks and stuff. I'd like to have a means test of
Yes.
why it is that any new medicine that's hit the market in the last 10 years, American people have helped develop that medicine, and uh, and I'm still in this because it was so good. I saw this on a clip the other day where they
Hmm.
talk about it's like a really bad episode of Shark Tank where companies show up and they want $1 billion for zero interest in their company and stuff, um, and we give it to them, and then they go out and make these record profits and stuff, and no one says anything about that. And
Right.
so if your concern is the the gentleman or lady or older woman or whoever who's getting a couple $100 a month out of the government and some food assistance, and you're not concerned about the millions and billions of dollars that we spend, I think that you've fallen for the trap that was set out there.
Absolutely.
Don't yeah, don't look in this hand. The magic's over here.
Yeah.
Type
And,
stuff.
and that's really what it is. It's a lot of times it's distraction and deflection. And like I said, you're absolutely right. If you and she did say it sounds better now. If you want to, do that, then hey, if you're gonna require there to be criteria in place for the lesser, well, then
Yeah,
more responsibility should be even out there for the greater. Because instead of us talking about a couple of $100 to this person, now we're talking about millions of dollars or even hundreds of millions of dollars. So when you talk about stuff like that, so that's what I mean by, I listen to these debates to kind of see where people are because they say these things, and I don't think that they always think that people are watching and listening and stuff, or they think that they can just kind of say it for their primary, and then if they get out of the primary, then slide back a little bit over to the middle, away from the fringe, and reestablish their position. And a lot of times these folks get away with that crap where they'll say what they need to say for their base to get them through the primary, knowing that that message does not resonate in a general election where you need to pull more than just your base of voters. What folks don't really realize is that it's like having a team, and your team is going to root for you no matter what. But the only way that you're going to really win is to be able to pull some of those that are undecided or may not had originally thought about rooting for you, and be able to pull them over to your side. Whether it's independents, whether it's non-affiliates, whatever the thing is, that's who you're really fighting for. But you're fighting for them in a general, and the reason being is most primaries are split up by parties, meaning that if you're a Democrat, you can't vote in Republican primaries. There are a few that are out there where you can do that, but those are very rare. If you're a Republican, you can't go vote. If you're a registered Republican, can't go vote in a Democratic primary. So the first goal for a lot of these politicians is to reach out to those that are going to vote for them in the primary,
absolutely.
and a lot of them, especially on the right now, are considered somewhat extreme. So the whole thing is that you've got to almost match that intensity, because if somebody comes across more extreme than you do, then you have no shot to get to the general, because you'll never get out of the primary. And then what they do is, once they get out of the primary, a lot of them know, okay, if I keep this message, it's going to alienate. I'm going to take about 35% of my base. I can't win with 35%. I got to find another 15 to 16% out there. But the only way that I can reach out to them is slide back over a little bit so that I can pull them in. Because if I don't, what I'm talking about right now is going to push them away. So it's all strategic in that. So, Jermaine, it was funny because they did have 8 people that qualified for the debate. It would have been 9 if Trump had decided to show up, but Trump wanted to stick it to Fox News. He put it out there as he was trying to stick. He didn't like Fox News because they've been unfavorable to him. They used to just let him come on whenever. Back when he was running the first time, he had unlimited airtime. Fox and Friends always covered him well, and now the only host on that program that's overly friendly to him is still Sean Hannity. But he basically had carte blanche at Fox News to do whatever he wanted. And early on, it was clear that Rupert Murdoch decided it was time to get off the Trump bandwagon somewhat and look for an alternative candidate. And early on, that bet was on Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. Now, he has definitely fizzled from all of the pomp and circumstance that surrounded his initial coming out party that he did on X, formerly known as Twitter, when he had a bunch of technical difficulties when he first announced his presidential bid. But out of the 8 people that were there, Jermaine, 6 of them uh, were former governors, or if you count DeSantis, still is governor. But you had Nikki Haley, who used to be the governor of South Carolina. You had Asa Hutchinson, who was former governor of Mississippi. You had Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey. You had oh my gosh, Greg. He's still the governor of North Dakota. Now his name just slipped my mind. Greg. I just had it up. Oh man, it'll come back to me. Berman, I think is his name. And then you also had Mike Pence, not only former vice president, but former governor of Indiana. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. And then you had Tim Scott and Vivek Ramaswamy, the businessman, of course, Senator Muckmouth Scott, also on the debate stage. And it was interesting because there were some boos. Chris Christie got booed a lot, especially when he brought up the fact about Trump. And his biggest boos, he almost invited it, because what happened was is that they basically said, if Donald Trump is convicted of a crime of any of these charges, and let's remind the audience, Donald Trump is currently up to 91 felonious counts over 4 different indictments. 91 counts. Damn, that's a lot of counts.
That is a lot of counts. I think. Well, I want to jump back just for 1 second, and I
Yeah, go
swear
ahead.
it's gonna bog down.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you're talking about the reasons why you watch and stuff, and I completely agree with that. I think that people have to understand that it's important to educate yourself on
Yes.
both sides of the issues and stuff,
Hmm.
and not just your point of view. Because, like, I'm 47 years old. I've been wrong a lot, and what keeps me right is being able to open myself up to those things. Now, nothing says that I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to be swayed, but at
Right.
least I should be open to the possibility that they have some good ideas and stuff.
That's true.
The other point that you made, and the word you used was like the analogy you used was like sports teams and stuff, and I think that politics has become fandom with fanatics,
Yes.
and just like a team that loses and stuff, whether they win or lose, the fans are sticking in there with them.
Yep.
So I thought that was a really inept analogy and stuff, uh, because a lot of these politicians, when you talk about their what they do for the primaries and what they do for the general stuff, at this point, because we become so polarized, they're not trying to get different opinions. They're trying to rally their base,
Yep.
and when they win the primary, they loosen back up and move actually away from center because they got to recapture the rest of their base and stuff.
Mm.
And for most people, it's the devil you know. And so
Right.
a lot of people will vote for these politicians, even if they don't produce anything or they don't do anything, because they're known quantity, whether they do anything or not, as opposed to, well, I would never vote Democrat because I don't care.
Well,
They have
that's funny. That's funny that you say that, because even when you hear people like Bill Barr on all the Sunday shows and everything, the former Attorney General for Donald Trump, admitted that Donald Trump is an existential threat, that he tried to subvert democracy,
yep.
that he wanted to suspend the Constitution,
But if he wins,
that Jack Smith has him dead to rights in the documents case, and all the other cases seem pretty strong too. When they asked him initially, and they've asked other people this, they'll say, "Well, what if he's the nominee? Are you going to vote?" So if he's all this bad and you've laid it out, we didn't have to lay any of this out. You've laid it out. So does that mean that if it's Biden versus Trump, you're going to vote for Biden? They said, "No, I'm voting Republican."
yeah, and so they what they're saying is that we back the party, and what it's pseudo supposed to mean is that we abide with the will of the people. If the will of the people says that Trump is our candidate, then I'm going to vote for Trump because I believe in what the people believe. Now we know that that's not really the case and stuff. But like I said, I didn't want to bog down and
No,
dwell.
no, no,
I
no. But
want-
to that point too, the crazy thing was with the 8 candidates on stage, and Ron DeSantis was in the middle because he's the highest um percentage candidate that was there as far as who has the highest
yeah,
uh, popularity. If Trump would have been in the middle if he was there, but DeSantis was in the middle. So normally the guy in the middle is the one that everybody's going to go after because they're trying to knock him off the mantle. And nobody went after DeSantis at all. Everybody went after Vivek, which was weird, because he
no,
just
I
kept.
heard that, but what the analysis I heard from behind that was is that he wasn't worth going after.
He
Uh,
wasn't.
that he's
He just
trailing.
he just looked awkward and aloof like he always does, and he did not look the part of the person that should have been in the middle of the stage
I
at
think
all.
I think the thing that people have to understand, the level of personality and charisma that you have to be
Yes.
nationally adored is tremendous. If anybody's met a sitting president and stuff, I don't care what party he was a part of. He's the kind of guy that walks in the room and people notice.
Yeah.
And that can be said for the Bushes too.
Yeah.
And
Reagan,
Reagan, all those
Clinton,
guys. They
Obama,
and so
and Trump. I mean, love him or not,
and
love him or
Trump
not, Trump is a very charismatic dude.
he's probably the epitome of that kind of stuff,
He's a
right?
showman.
He's a showman, and
Yeah.
there's got to be a lot of showmen. The problem with Ron DeSantis, outside of his politics, which actually aren't unpopular, he is lame, and that's it. That really that he, and so when he
That's
was
it.
being paraded before he announced and stuff, he did a little trial, and the
Yeah.
big things that kept coming back out from when they were trying to get him for sponsorships and trying to get him in front of people to get him back for the candidacy and stuff was
Hmm.
that people did not like him. He is
Right.
not and so now for people who don't align with his politics, he is obviously unlikable.
Right.
But for even the people that who do align with it, they're like he is so dull. He has no personality. He is, and so the other candidates didn't seem, and it
Mm-mm.
speaks of volumes that they didn't see him as a threat, even though he was front running. It's because he spent all this money and he'd been on this tour and stuff.
Yep.
You look at the viability. I think the thing that the national committee for Republicans is going to have to come to terms with is the fact that Trump is going to be nominated.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what these other guys say stuff. No one's going to take it away from him.
No, and honestly, Jermaine, it really felt like a lot of them aren't even really running for president. They're running for either cabinet positions or even a potential vice president. All except for Asa Hutchinson, Mike Pence, and Chris Christie. Those are all definite no's. But all of the other ones are all of the other ones are potential. Well, probably other than North Dakota governor too. He talked a lot and didn't really say anything. But the one thing when they asked everybody if Trump is the presumptive nominee, how many of you on stage would back him? And it was almost like that whole thing where Ramaswamy was the first one to throw his hand up. He was almost like, I'm first. And then people started looking to see who else was raised their hand. And eventually even DeSantis kind of looked and said, okay, he raised his hand. The one that was just terrible to me was Mike Pence. Mike Pence finally raised his hand. And
I don't think so, man. I think you got to understand the politics of it. I think
yeah, I do.
about these guys and their promises and their pitches and stuff. The big thing that we don't have in politics is accountability. And
Right.
so when we talk about limiting how long somebody can serve, when we talk about
Like term limits?
the term limits stuff, because the voters don't hold these guys accountable. And so you could presumptively assume that Mike Pence is not the best of friends with Donald Trump, right?
Right.
He's basically doing anything he can at this point to help convict Trump. He didn't have to take those personal notes
Right.
that he turned over. I'm not sure anybody asked him for them. I think Mike Pence is over there dry snitching.
Well, I think Mike Pence basically said, I'm not just going to voluntarily walk into your courtroom, but if you send me a subpoena where it's like, well, I had to go because they sent me a subpoena and it had already been proven that there was no executive privilege on it. I think a lot of them did that so they felt like their base wouldn't turn on them because they were more compelled to cooperate than they just voluntarily cooperated. I think they just did it under that cloud.
I think it's a sad point because I think Republicans didn't realize how gullible and how stupid their base was, and it's forced them to contort themselves
Yes.
in unimaginable positions where they're raising their hand to say, if this guy's convicted, I'm still going to. You can't go back to Reagan days and say that you think Republicans would fall in line like this, but they're so beholden to the base, and the base is out of control. I think they're just hoping, like a lot of people hoped the first time he ran, that something would happen that would just take them out, and
Right.
they would have to deal with it and stuff. And so no Republican wants to directly deal with it
They
because
don't want blood on their hands. Yeah.
they don't want the blood on their hands and stuff because they know that they're dead politically on every level for attacking that man.
Well, that's like Pence. Pence to me, Jermaine, is a dead man walking. Like you
Oh,
are
yeah.
not reading the tea leaves. These people literally came up on January the 6th and had a gallows waiting outside, and they were looking to bring you out and hang your ass. They're not going to vote for you over Trump because in their minds, you betrayed their God emperor.
And that's what's crazy to me is that Mike, they were going to kill you.
Right.
Like at this point, what do you have to lose by standing up and taking a stand?
Exactly. And that's where my disappointment with him comes because right before all of that, Jermaine, dude's talking about, you know how he talks. Well, I fulfilled my constitutional duty, and in front of the good Lord, I made a promise to follow the Constitution and not the president.
Well,
I had no authority. So he starts talking this holier than thou about how
it's not
God
really.
is
Mike
God.
Pence knew that if he did what he said, he was going to go to jail.
He'd be getting a mugshot today.
Yeah. Mike didn't do it because the Lord told him. His lawyer told him.
Right.
Like,
but he puts it out there. Well, not only that, but Dan Quayle told him too, because he was still trying to figure out if he could do it. But he tries to put off that, but when you're trying to lean into your Christianity, that all your values and stuff like that, knowing that this guy sicked his mob on you, when somebody says if he is the nominee, are you going to support him? You should have been the first person to say hell to the no. Period.
I
But
I I think
that's
it's
only if what's in here means more than that power that you see.
again, I just think that that's just where we are currently in
It is.
2023, and we've been that way for the Trump has and you say I will say what I will about the man, he absolutely sucks. He's a criminal. Anybody that votes for him is has some serious blinders on.
Or
Um,
they're
and
cups.
and when he says stupid stuff like, "If they'll come for me, they'll come for you,"
And I'm
that
getting
is
I'm getting
that
arrested for you.
yeah, I'm just in the way. They're coming for you. I'm just in the way. He has never. There's the thing is like no one can actually show in the history of his life where he's looked out for somebody other than himself.
Right.
And the idea that he was able to tell people, look, I've got all this money and there's no reason for me to want to be president, even though it's the most powerful position in the world and I can enrich myself and my family through the connections of the presidency. The salary is not the point of the
My
presidency.
gosh. I had a guy in the car the other day and he started talking about Trump. And anytime people want to start talking about Trump, I don't even say nothing no more because I told you about that one bad experience. But again, guy brings up some of the same things about Trump. What makes Trump so good? He's a businessman. He didn't even take a salary while he was in the White House. I'm like, why do you need a $400,000 salary when you're
But
making
if
a
you're being
billions of dollars through people staying at your properties and all the other emoluments that you
Well,
broke while
the
you were?
thing is, number one, he did take salary. He was supposed to have donated it. There's very
He
little.
did donate a few of them.
He did donate a few of them. He didn't
Yeah,
donate all of them.
he didn't donate them all.
He didn't donate them all. Let's get that out there. He's not a good businessman. He's filed bankruptcy, and a lot of people say, well, he did that to protect that. No, he's known it. He, like in New York, his name is Mud because he stiffs people
Yeah.
regularly. That's what he's known for as a businessman. What he's good at is being loud and branding,
Yes.
and that doesn't mean that you're the most successful person just because you're the loudest person. And
Mhm.
so that's my big thing is that there's no real litmus test where he passes on these assumptions that people make about him. And so then you throw in the fact that I don't care how squeaky clean you think this man is. He's facing. Did I hear he's going to get another indictment? The Arizona or something's going to indict him.
Possibly. I mean, it could be a floodgate, to be honest with you,
And and
because
so
everybody was waiting on the first state person to do it. Oh, Trump is at the jail. Yeah, he was supposed to show up at 7:30. So Sarah Parker says he's at the jail. He's supposed to show. Now he delayed this because he wanted to do it in prime time to show up to the jail for ratings.
so the thing is, like every time he gets indicted, his numbers go up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the indictments are hurting the other candidates even more so
Yeah.
because what has been the story today? Well, part of the story today was the debate last night, but then it quickly transitioned into once Mark Meadows finally turned himself in around 1 o'clock. Then it was now we're on Trump watch. Trump announced he's going to turn himself in on Thursday, and he was going to make a big thing about it because he was going to do it 7:30 at night. Why? Because now people are at home watching TV. He wants to turn it into a thing. He wants them to do a mugshot because he's going to
Well,
campaign off
I,
of that. That's going to be another fundraiser that he's going to do to these people. They're going to send him more money once he shoots out his mugshot on the campaign emails.
I think initially, and then he's doing. I'm not. He's doing it now, right? But I think um, I think the first couple of indictments, um, he's like, whatever. I get out
Yeah,
of everything.
right,
How many times has that dude been sued?
right.
And yeah, I might have to pay some money and stuff, but a lot of his stuff is a First Amendment defense that it's free speech and he can say whatever he wants, even if he knows the statements he's making are false.
Mhm.
But I think the big thing that's going to get him is the Georgia indictment because of the state RICO charge. that they have there, and that RICO, and there's a difference between the federal statute and the state statute for RICO,
Yeah.
and I think that that's what's ultimately going to be his undoing.
And RICO is very broad to begin with because it can take two crimes that on the front have absolutely nothing to do with each other and find a common thread to bind them all together. So Trump, DA Fonnie Willis down in Fulton County, who's known for RICO charges, has done I think about 9 or 10 of them over the last 2 years, even with rappers and teachers groups and stuff like
Yeah.
that,
So
where
there was
she,
a conspiracy in Georgia with their testing, where their testing started upticking and stuff,
hmm
and she convicted the school system. Really, I mean, basically that that they were conspiring and
right,
cheating and doing false tests and stuff. I think the thing that that people uh, need to kind of understand with Georgia's RICO laws allow them to pull things that normally you'd have to like they can use the election stuff in Arizona and Pennsylvania. They can pull from other states and stuff.
right,
Federally, you're a little bit limited. You've got to have at least two of the charges. There's a list of things on there, but uh, and like you said, basically the RICO stuff started when they started with the idea of how do we prosecute like mob bosses because they don't kill people,
right,
they don't launder money and stuff. They just run the family and stuff. And so the RICO stuff was really built into law to be able to say if you run a criminal organization, you're held accountable top to
right.
bottom for everything that happens in that
Because
organization.
without it, you had some plausible deniability that
Yeah,
separated and insulated you from the low level people that actually were the workers that did all of the work. But
yeah,
everybody with common sense knew that they weren't funding that operation. They weren't the ones greasing the wheels and all that other kind of stuff. But the problem was without the RICO, it was hard to connect the
yeah.
bottom to the top.
And that's really what it is. It connects crimes together to build a full picture of the criminality that's taking place, and to then hold the puppeteers or leaders of those
Correct.
organizations accountable for what they have set forth for the subordinates to do. So even if Sydney, is it Powell?
How? Yep.
'Cause even if Sydney Powell is being crazy lady unleashing the Kraken type stuff, uh, we know who told her to go do it.
Right.
And anything with Giuliani and I think one of the interesting things is that Giuliani has been very public about Trump's not paying his bills, and I think he's signaling publicly to Trump that if you don't pay my bills, I'm going to take a deal.
Yeah, he gonna have to. I mean, and that's the crazy thing. Rudy has just embarrassed himself. I mean, with the hair dye, the total landscaping, um, to the point now that he's trying to sell his apartment in Upper East Side of Manhattan and all these other things. He went to Trump weeks ago begging for money. Trump agreed to help pay for his storage, data storage bill that was over $300,000, I believe, because at the time he was facing the defamation suit with, and still is, Shay
Yep.
Moss and Ruby Freeman, who he and Trump defamed to no end, just workers in Georgia trying to help with the votes and everything, and just making their lives a living hell. Which I'm glad to see that that is actually one of the charges in the RICO case, because there was even a gentleman that came from out of town to try to pressure them to admit to doing some nefarious things. But back to Rudy, so Trump still didn't really take care of Rudy. I think they sat down not too long ago, and in another 2 weeks, Trump is going to hold a fundraiser, Jermaine, in Bedminster at his Bedminster golf course for Rudy's defense. Now, check this out though. It's going to be $100,000 a plate, and that includes the round table with Trump and Giuliani. So $100,000 per person for this fundraiser, and you
Well,
know good and well that Rudy ain't getting all the proceeds from that.
Well, so so I was actually thinking it's funny you say that because I was thinking, a lot of people are sending money to a billionaire for his legal defense, and I
Right.
think to myself, if you in your uh, stupidity can't see how that doesn't add up, he's a billionaire.
Right.
Why would he need your money?
And he's been using his Save America pack, the one that he had set up to say, send this money so that we can, when we go to court with all these cases and all this stuff, we can sit there and show that the election was stolen. Didn't use a dime to do that. Never presented anything in court. Um, and used all that money for his legal defense because it's a pack and you can loosely do that. It's legal to do it. Is it ethically good? No, because you said it's for this. But politicians do that a lot of times. They bring up, I think you brought up the fact that a politician can do campaign donations and say, help me fight the evil Democrats and da 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 da. And then they use it for all kinds of campaign finances and stuff like that. And Trump does that. He just does it on steroids, or he has the campaign have the auto renew already enabled, so people don't know that they're not just giving one time, but they're constantly giving more times than they intentionally meant to give, and things like that. He's a professional grifter, so he's been using all of his funds, all of those funds, all of this time for his legal fees. Hasn't dipped into his own finances. Yeah.
You hear that? I hear it. I hear a. But what about Biden? Um, and, uh, and I would just say, I suggest that you buy your own equipment. You start your own show, and you talk about Joe Biden. We're talking about a criminal here, a very, very dangerous to democracy criminal. Um, and so, but I'm serious. Like, I'm sure there's somebody right now who's like, "What about this? What about the cocaine? What about his son?" Look, Hunter Biden is probably going to. Well, I don't know. He's come from a rich family. His father's the president and stuff. But
As far as the cocaine goes, have y'all really seen Trump Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle?
look, look, and so I think that's the problem with our politics and stuff, and that's why so many people
What
are
about it?
disinterested in what's going on because they do. I think the average person sees the hypocrisy in our
Mhm.
political systems and stuff, and our politicians and stuff. One of the problems is that uh, we 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 try to treat or we used to before Trump. Trump normalized and actually not being a good person, but it used to be that your politicians were like your religious leaders. They were
Yeah.
above reproach and stuff. And Trump basically normalized that. I don't know. You don't have to do that because the reason justifiable um, criminality. Um, the same way in reverse that black and brown people can be criminalized simply for existing, uh, there are certain other people, like a Trump, who can be criminalized, and then all of a sudden it's a system. It's a two-tier justice system. Um, he's just fighting against, the FBI is corrupt. Well, we said that when they were doing when J. Edgar Hoover was putting files on Martin and stuff. We've said that for a long time, but we were
Yep.
not patriotic when we said that
Yeah.
he can incite a riot that kills cops, and he can be viewed as some otherworldly figure and stuff. And that's what kind of grinds my gears, if you will, about the whole situation is that the hypocrisy is so
Oh,
freaking deep.
it's terrible because when they talk about the two-tier justice system and they lay out all of these things, and I'm going, well, wait a minute. Why would it even be a consideration whether he's going to get a mugshot if there wasn't a two-tier justice system? Why would it be a presumption that you can just turn yourself in when most people to get arrested, they ask go straight to jail, and if you can't post bond, then you sitting up in the county jail.
Did you happen to see the letter that was written to Meadows' attorneys from what's her name?
Funny,
Uh, Bonnie?
Funny Willis,
Yeah.
the DA.
Um, yeah, the DA.
Oh, because he wanted more time.
He wanted more time, and she's like, "I gave you 2 weeks, which was way more
Right,
with
and you even deserve.
murder,
You're a criminal.
and you are a criminal defendant. You don't get any special consideration. On Friday, we're going to file warrants. You can talk to us Wednesday and Thursday about bond, but on Friday we're going to court, and we're gonna put warrants out for you.
Clank, clank.
Uh, and that's the reason he showed up today, because
Yeah.
tomorrow was he was either gonna walk in or perp walk in. Uh,
And I
and
really,
so
I so wanted him to come in handcuffs.
I,
Only because of the entitlement. It's like, why do you even think that you should be able to evade justice? And then the first thing that y'all will say is weaponization or two-tier justice system. I like you right. It is two-tier. Because if your name wasn't Mark Meadows, but it was Tyrone Johnson, this
what
wouldn't
you
even
need
be
2
the
weeks?
conversation.
What do you need 2 weeks to turn yourself in for?
Right.
For what? Just come on,
It's
come
not
on
it's
down.
not like you're even gonna spend a night in the jail. So
No.
you don't have to get your affairs together.
And what it is, and so this is me going back historically and stuff. Our
Yep.
justice system was built to incarcerate non-whites, and to police and make sure that non-whites stayed in there. It's so sad that that's a Chiron that just stays on cue. Uh, but but it's true. And so how do I know it's true? Because Mark Meadows thought he was and every one of them thought to themselves, this isn't for me. How dare you? Like how indignant Trump was when they came to Mar-a-Lago and they raided me and stuff. And the whole thing was like, the only reason they showed up was because they asked you politely
Right.
for months, and you told them that you had turned everything in, and they just knew that you were lying because, well, you lie about everything.
Right.
And so, but the idea that, and it's so funny because a lot of people have been conditioned again to demonize being poor, poverty, and stuff like that. And if somebody is in industry in a white collar, because it's a victimless crime, right? No one got hurt over this stuff. Why are you so concerned? It goes back to like the college cheating scandal.
Yeah.
uh, like people were so in arms about, well, why does it even matter that they're doing this? Because instinctively people knew the system was rigged anyway, and so they're like, why are you prosecuting people, especially these nice white people? um why are you bothering them just because they just wanted the best for their family? There's a migrant that traveled all the way up from Nicaragua, that they don't want to let in because they want the best for their family. All they want to do is get away from people that raped and killed people in their village and stuff, and they were seeking safety in the American dream, whatever that means today. But they can't see that.
Right.
So that's what frustrates me personally. But they do. It is a two. They understand, and their behavior lets you know. You don't have to say it. Your behavior
Hmm.
lets me know that you know that this is not for you. That
Right.
system is not for you. I will say this. Um, do I think that there is an effort across the nation to redefine what that is? Absolutely. That's why they had critical race theory where it was and where it should have been, examining law, how institutional racism had perpetrated itself throughout the criminal justice system, and what changes they could make to um, uh, even out the scales of justice and stuff. And so I think, when we talk about this stuff, we have to be aware that there is progress being made. There are people out there that are trying to do a good job, who are working really, really hard to service the community, and their local governments as a whole. But you just have to understand that right now, the way it is that if you have a lot of money, you don't go to jail.
Right.
uh, that's why, like when Martha Stewart went to jail for insider trade and stuff, it was a big deal, even though she didn't do a whole bunch of time.
Hmm.
Um, but she still went to a mental security facility and stuff and crocheted her ass off. But the fact that she's faced any consequences, and again, it comes back to accountability and being able to face consequences, whether it be our politicians and what they tell us that they're going to do and then end up not doing, but keep getting elected over and over again, or these guys who are committing crimes in plain sight in front of the nation.
Hmm.
And they've got to go to jail because what does it say to the American institution that they can do it on TV in front of everybody and face
And
no consequences?
and not only that, Jermaine, but to your point, when you think about somebody like Rudy Giuliani, who back in the days when he was in New York as a prosecutor,
Yeah,
used RICO
specialized.
left and right, locked people up.
Yep.
Sometimes didn't even have all of the evidence. Very, very heavy-handed with stop and frisk that predominantly went after people of color on the streets, where police could just walk up to you and just basically pull you over and stop you and question you and pat you down and things like that. And most of the time, there was no crime. There was no inference of a crime. They didn't have to have probable cause. He benefited from being heralded as America's mayor and a top prosecutor for years and everything else. And it gave him the impression that he was above the law.
Yeah.
And now that same justice system that he used to lean on to be able to pressure, now he talks about pressure campaigns and things like that. Oh, they're just sitting there putting you in jail and stuff like that, trying to get you to flip and do everything else. Bro, you should know that better than anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
I,
should. I mean, hell, how did you eat all those years?
yeah.
You did the same
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, like you said, it's one thing when you're leaning on somebody versus somebody leaning on you in this situation, and
Yeah.
like he's at, but I'll give it to him. He's right. They are, but it's like that old '80s commercial when the dad walks in the son's room and stuff is like, where'd you get these drugs? Where'd you learn to get these drugs? He's like, I learned it from you, and because the dad's doing drugs, and of course his kid's doing drugs,
Right.
and that's Giuliani in the situation. These cats are using your presence and your case law and your techniques about, and now that it's applying to you. The good thing to say is, I guess um, if you want to, if people want to say that Trump is being a trap, and the fact is that he won't shut his trap. That is literally his biggest problem is that he has provided more evidence against himself
Yep.
than anything else.
Hmm. That's
He just
true.
won't stop it. He won't stop admitting the crimes.
Yeah. Because he thinks that if he just says it out in the open, it makes it okay.
Yeah, it normalizes and neutralizes the
Right.
conversation.
Exactly. Exactly. He
I
thinks
can
that
declassify stuff with my mind,
yeah.
no matter how ridiculous it sounds. But it was so declassified that he couldn't let anybody else see it. So is it declassified? Well, just for my eyes only. Well, you don't.
Well, and
That's
not
double
only that,
crossing
but
too,
I
man.
keep going back to that whole declassified thing. If that was really true, Trump people, why does his legal counsel have to now go through security background checks to get classified clearance for documents that are already unclassified?
I,
Make
you
that
know,
make sense.
I've said this before. So I held a top secret clearance, and, and I'll tell you right now, if I had mishandled anything, there wouldn't be no franchise on the screen right now. Would no be no broker in charge or nothing.
Just be a black screen right
Just
there.
just be like a ribbon. But maybe hopefully you would have a ribbon,
Right.
or maybe like a doll or picture in your background and stuff. But I wouldn't be here, and would nobody care? And so for people who, I mean, sort of like his family, like I want to say his family didn't clear, they didn't qualify for security clearances,
Oh,
and
Kushner
so
and Ivanka couldn't even pass the background check.
they didn't pass the background checks, and so it came from the office of the president. Will give them a clearance anyway.
Yeah.
And so for people who have had to struggle and who have had to do things the right way to maintain for the livelihoods and stuff, for those kind of people to not even really be qualified to do the things they're doing, it is a little bit infuriating. And and I would generally say I don't wish bad things on people, but that would be a lie. I wish a lot of bad things on these people,
Yeah.
generally from my heart and stuff. And if that means I get bad luck from it, I don't even care as long as it comes to fruition for them too,
Mm.
because they deserve it. They have done bad things, so bad things should happen to them.
Right. And it kind of goes back to how I opened it up about having a sports team. You can sit there and watch, say for instance, a football game, and I see my quarterback get sacked, and I think it was a late hit, and because your guy is the one that hit him, you'll
Yeah,
say it was clean,
absolutely.
and it's
Yeah,
the exact same play, but because you're looking at it from one perspective and I'm looking at the other, we think that our guy got
I,
Trump
I,
released
I
on two
I
hundred
think
thousand
that
dollars. Yep.
I think the problem with this one is that it's so not even that close
No, it's
in
blatant.
perception, that there is a willingness to be ignorant. I get
It
that.
is. It
But a
is.
lot of this support is way past that. It's way past I can overlook, because a lot of people initially, one of the top things, and we talked about a little bit last week, I think we talked about last week, was like the Roe versus Wade overturning that, and a lot of people were willing to hang in there with him because they knew that he was going to be able to get them, or they believed with him and McConnell, they'd be able to get the judges onto the court, and this was their opportunity with a Republican. It didn't have to be him, but a Republican president. If he was going to be the nominee, they were going to just back him again. That blind loyalty to the party, they were just going to back him all the way until they got what they wanted out of him. Um, I just don't think that they understood that he was getting what he wanted to, and how bad it was going to get. I mean, it's bad. A lot of people will say stuff about different presidents and stuff. Do I think that second Bush was a war criminal? I absolutely do.
Hmm.
And I think that realistically there should be some justice served on his end, but he paints now, so let's let it go.
Yeah.
Um, but I think is in terms of and it was uh, my senator down in South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, was the one who famously said, "If we support this dude or we elect this dude, we deserve what we get." And so you're getting what you deserve now, and I don't understand what the issue is. The only reason he's running is because he believes there is protection in the presidency. He doesn't care about the
Well,
people.
not only that he believes it, but he benefited from it the first time.
Oh
There
yeah,
were, Robert Mueller was not able to pursue charges because of a memo that said that you
that
cannot indict a sitting president.
So that's the thing. And like even that, and I'm not going to dwell on it real long. There is precedent, there's case law, and there's a piece of paper that somebody wrote.
Right.
He could have done it.
Yeah, he
Um,
could have just
it,
said,
it,
"Okay, it's a
it
recommendation."
Yeah, it's just a recommendation. There's nothing that says you can't do it. In fact, the real beauty of what America's supposed to be is that no one is above the law, and that memo basically says somebody is.
Exactly.
And so, if we're really being constitutionalists, if we're really being patriots and stuff, if we really believe that we have a democracy and if it's a republic, if we believe that we don't have kings and queens and royal families and stuff like that, then why can't we hold again accountability in
Right.
highest levels and stuff? And I think that that was the whole thing about why people warn not, like, he cannot. He's a leopard that cannot change the spots. He is a criminal. He's going to get in office and he is going to do criminal stuff.
Yep.
You cannot help it. That is who he is. You are better off. And that was again that was something that the Republican Party allowed. Um, and it
Shannon
just got out of
called. How
hand.
you doing, Shannon? Sorry, Shannon called. Just joined.
Ah, what's up, Shannon?
Yeah. 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 No. Absolutely. Well, it's always, it kind of reminds me when they used to date somebody and you would say, well, but you just said this and now it's this, and the first thing out of their mouth is, yeah, but that's different. I'm like, it really isn't. How is it different? It
Yeah,
just
that's
is.
right.
It's like, no, it can't be because you want it to be. Either it really is or it isn't.
Yeah,
And that's just a cop out for people to not have to sit there and address what's really going on and just basically push it over to the side. When people were interviewed that said that if Trump literally did kill somebody, would they still vote for him? And I showed you that clip a couple weeks back where she said, um,
Depends.
yeah, I mean, who was it?
Who do you kill? Who do you kill? Why
Anybody.
kill him?
Why'd they kill him? You know, like, why does any of that matter? If he kills somebody in cold blood, isn't that the
Well,
whole
I
deal?
think
No.
I think the catch point, because some people, again, what about Biden? Those people would say, well, it does matter, and yes, it would be if not for the context of the question. The question wasn't posed like if he killed somebody innocent or if he killed somebody in self defense. It was implied through the question if he killed somebody, obviously murder. If he murdered somebody,
Mhm.
because murder is a crime. If he committed a criminal act and it took someone's life, would you still vote for him? Not let's try to find loopholes because you didn't ask me exactly that way. It was implied in the question. People just chose to look at it a different way, um, and and that's how they operate 24/7 when it comes to their politics and their beliefs and
Yeah.
their pseudo
I,
Christianity
I,
and stuff.
I honestly don't understand the whole Hunter Biden thing. The accusation against Hunter Biden is the son of a politician tried to cash in on his name to and profit off of it.
Yeah,
If we start making that a wholesale crime, then
I think
Hunter,
so too. I
then I
fully
mean,
support it.
we got too many of aside from Sasha and Malia. My God, you had all of the Trump children.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. So, so let me just say, I am not a Joe Biden fan.
At
Uh,
all.
I did vote for him because the vote was between him and Trump, obviously.
Right.
But
Don't waste
do I think that if Hunter Biden is doing anything illegal, he should go to jail? Absolutely, I think he should go to jail.
sure.
I'm sorry, Bo was the better brother.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and it's sad. It's sad that he passed away and everything, and that's what we're left with.
And I think that, but I
With
think Jermaine,
Joe.
I think that screwed him up though. I mean, he was in
It
that.
probably did.
He
It
was in the
probably
car. He
did.
was in a car accident that killed his mom
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
his siblings and stuff,
Oh,
and then
I'm
his
not saying.
brother dies of brain cancer, and none of that is an excuse to be a f up. But we're supposed to be a country of compassion, and things happen to people. But then because he's the son
No,
of
we're not.
your political rival and
No, we're
everything,
not.
now
Our
I know it's all something that goes on a flyer, but they purport that. But then when it's one thing to say stuff, but then when it actually happens and then you don't follow through, then it just makes it obvious that you were just full of crap to begin with. But they
well,
purported to all of this stuff.
that's the thing. We're you're talking about. Again, I bring up Lindsey Graham, who
Hmm.
right after January 6th was like, he's gone too far. It's
Yeah,
too much for me.
been a
At the
heck of a
end,
ride.
it'd been heck of a ride. At the end of the month, he was taking a picture with the dude.
Yeah. And you know why? Because when he was walking in the airport, people were shaming him so bad and threatening him and stuff like that. He was like, "Oh, they ain't walked away from this dude yet, so
Yeah,
neither can I." He had to
yeah, I
recalibrate.
agree.
He
Um,
thought he thought that what had happened was so heinous and so bad. He
yeah,
thought he was
nobody
getting
could, nobody could
ahead
stick
of
with
it
him.
and
What
didn't realize that no, these fools are ride or die.
what he didn't realize that I've realized, there are a lot of people in this country today in 2023.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about non-melanated people. Not all of them, but I am talking about non-melanated people who would say things like slavery is bad, who share Martin Luther's quotes during Black History, which I hate. Um,
Mhm.
who would tell you that if they were around, there would be no such. They are lying to you. The same reason slavery didn't go on for like 45 minutes. It wasn't a drop, a splash in the pan of this country. It was 400 years of this country. There were
Right.
people who were complacent and compliant with the institution, and they knew how immoral it was. It wasn't like today. So, like today, there's a campaign down in Florida, right, where slaves were happy and they learned trades and stuff like that, and everybody's saying, Aunt Jemima, blah 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 blah, all this BS about what it was, and not the cruelty that it was. people then saw it at its worst and still let it be.
Yeah,
The same people today who tell me that they wouldn't do it would absolutely do it.
absolutely.
Absolutely do it.
And
I
the
can tell by the way I can tell by the way they
is,
talk about people.
yeah, but the main reason too is that it takes more courage to sit there and go against the grain than to just go with the flow.
Well, the thing is that especially then when you dehumanize the which is again patterns, it's history. A lot of things in this country are just repeat, repeat, repeat.
Yeah,
When we talk about people, it's so funny that a country that was founded on the idea of immigrants hates immigrants. It's wild, right?
that's crazy.
Uh, but what they did was is okay. Well, we can't explicitly say black people, so we'll just say immigrants. We'll get them out of the country and stuff, and we'll talk about the disease they bring, the same diseases that they brought over here and killed the Indians with, right?
Mhm.
Not the same diseases, but the same premise of
Premise.
coming in and bringing disease and stuff like that, and not knowing and can't speak the
That was
language.
okay. The southern border
That
was
was
just fine.
like you just said, but it's different, right? But it's the same thing, right? Over and over again, and it's just displaced to other to other groups, and it's crazy the way that it's implemented here. It
Yeah,
really is, and that people with a straight face can say that it's different, and no, it's not the same, and that's not what we mean, even though it looks that way. Don't you trust your cheating eyes? You gonna trust me? Your cheating eyes and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy.
it is crazy.
And there are there's some I know some very educated people who on a lot of different levels I agree with, that support this foolishness, that
One
support
thing I
Trump.
one thing I want to get out of the well, two things I want to clear the air with, and every time I hear it, I'm gonna address it and just until whenever. This country was not founded on Christianity. As much as Christians want to rewrite history, and my God, there's a lot of rewriting going on, and I don't know why because nobody's reading. But
You're not allowed.
you're not allowed to read. Christianity is not the foundation of America. If that sounds anti-American, anti-patriotic, read the Constitution. That's all I'm going to tell you. You can argue with me or you can argue with the Constitution. I prefer you to argue with the Constitution because then that means that at least you attempted to read it. But America, and I'll say it again, was not founded on Christianity. It is not a country where we simply just tolerate other beliefs, religions, and ideologies. It's where we accept them all because we are not founded on one religion.
Well, well, so here's the thing, like real American history, why did colonists come here? Because they were being persecuted and stuff, and they wanted to do their own thing.
Right.
But it was one of those kind of things, just like slavery and stuff, where we're being persecuted. We want to come over here and we want to be free to practice what we want to practice, but anybody not doing they. But then they turned into the persecutors,
Right. It's
and
like an
so
abuser.
yeah,
Somebody abuses you long enough, then you turn yourself into an abuser.
yeah, and because they wanted to protect what they had, they didn't want different views and blah blah blah.
Right.
Shout out to my mama for keeping the updates and stuff. She said that Trump has been released on 200 k bond,
Yeah.
which he should have bonded out for the everything else too.
They broke
Um,
it down into the different charges and everything. But the bonds were prearranged before they even got there so that that was already negotiated between the DA office, the judge,
yeah,
um, prior to them getting there so that uh, it would not be a long experience. Again, two-tier justice system in the fact that most people that have to go to jail, get processed, fingerprinted, mugshot can take up to 24 hours to be processed. These people are going in and out in a matter of minutes. But two-tier justice system. Yeah, you're damn right. It's two-tier justice system because Tyrone Biggs going in there, he ain't coming out until the morning being processed.
and
If they
again,
release him on his own recognizance,
because poverty and social status is a big thing in this country and stuff.
correct?
It's like, well, why does he need to stay there? Because he's no different than anybody else. That's
Correct.
really the.
Yeah, that's the
It's not.
process.
It's not. Yeah. It's if that's the process, then he needs to go through the process.
Right.
If the process, if you think that that process isn't good, then we need to redefine the process for
For
everybody.
everybody. If
Um,
you like, it's just like when the Republicans sat there and were making a big deal about the Jan 6 people being
yeah,
detained unlawfully and the conditions in the jails and stuff like that. And like, did you think they just built those jails that way?
yeah,
They
that was
just
crazy.
started
And
doing
then
that,
the conditions in the
or
jail,
but
like what?
when it was brown and black people being
It's
subjected
okay.
to it, you had no
Yeah,
problem with the
and
way
they
they were
deserve
being treated in jail.
it. Yeah, they
Now
deserve
that it's your folks in there, oh God, the conditions and oh my God, they can only come out 1 hour a day and 23 hours.
it. Yeah.
They're behind the cell and the food is terrible and they don't have access to this and to that.
And it's
Really?
funny because those same people, like when AOC was going down to the border and looking at border camps and stuff and how they were treating immigrants and stuff, those same people were defending those conditions and stuff where
Yeah.
American citizens
Almost
had
like
to stay in
serves them right.
American jail. And that's the
Serves
thing
them
too.
right. Nobody told you to bring your ass over here anyway.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
they do
No,
it.
no one told you to go to the Capitol that day. No
Yeah.
one told you to assault police officers. No one told you to break and enter. No one
And
told
defecate
you to
all
do all
over
this
the
stuff.
walls.
Yeah, no one told you to do that. And so, and that's all, the frustration. And all I ask is that it's okay. Just like when we start off this conversation today, talking about conditions for receiving assistance, I'm all for it if everybody that receives money from the U.S. government has to meet a strict criteria too.
Correct.
I'm okay with it too. Like, do I think that somebody should be allowed to sit around and do drugs all day and get assistance? I do not.
Nope.
I'm non-supportive of that. Absolutely. Do I think that you need to be actively, if you can, able-bodied again and able-mind?
Yes.
Um, I think we keep talking about mental health and stuff, and I don't think that still we have enough resources to address all the
No,
stuff that we have.
it's a
Um,
talking point.
and because a lot of times, like when we look at homelessness,
And I know
that's a
some
mental health
mental health
issue.
issue.
Big time.
It's
It's
not a
not
it's
not
generally a
generally a
poverty
poverty
issue.
issue.
Oh yeah, big time, big time, big time.
So
So
as long as we're across the board keeping everything same, sure, I'm for it. Yeah, I don't want what they in the '80s used to say welfare queens. I don't want a welfare queen, but I also don't want a welfare king at a bank that's getting millions of dollars only to pull his golden parachute and jump out and go, hey, thanks for the money. That company's not working no more, but I'm going to be cool over here.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
no one holds them again accountable. If that if the franchise word for the day is accountability, whether it be in our politics, our policies, um, and our politicians.
Jermaine, that made me think about something that was brought up on the debate last night, where they were talking about busting up teachers unions, and the first thing that popped in my head was, so
Okay.
it's okay to bust up the teachers unions, but you'll bow down to the police unions, and qualified immunity is always off the table. It's funny which unions can be backed and which ones need to be
Well,
busted and broken up.
absolutely. If there's an industry, but the U.S. government has historically done that. If there's a service that is impacting people, now if it's impacting the general populace and stuff, like busing, we can let that go on for a while.
Hmm.
Um, but if it's something else that, and right now there's a push. I know I'm kind of jumping around. There's a push right now uh, to privatize schools
Yeah,
and using money from the public funds to fund uh, private institutions and stuff.
they want to go to
So
vouchers.
they want to go to vouchers and stuff. And uh, now, do I think that like CMS, if you're in Mecklenburg County and you go and you're any part of Charlotte Mecklenburg school system, they on the general scale suck. But they suck because CMS is an institution, and I mean that downtown. I don't mean it at the local schools and stuff. Teachers, if you have a teacher, give them a hug, and if you got an extra 20, slide it to them, because no one goes into teaching to make money. They
Right.
go in there because they have a calling to doing this stuff, and if you have a calling to do it, you are trying to work as hard as you can. What's happening is that they are being set up in schools that don't have discipline, don't have security, don't have resources, and they're being disillusioned and driven away. CMS is consistently short. I usually every year I hear about how many hundreds of teachers they're short. I hadn't even paid attention this year
Yeah.
to see, because it's the same thing.
Hey,
Because
Natasha, on the part, how you doing? Yeah, no, absolutely. But it just blows my mind when we talk about busting up unions that are there for folks that are
yeah,
basically serving the greater good.
well, I
Says,
mean, look, I mean, but that's what we talk about. We talk about the duplicity, the hypocrisy that goes on and stuff. That's like, we can't allow children around drag queens, right?
yep,
Why can't we do that? Well, because the government has a duty to protect children. Okay, well, what about guns? Because no drag queens have killed any children, but guns kill them a lot. How about we do something about guns? Well, we can't do anything about that. That can't be infringed on. But you can infringe on First Amendment rights of free speech with these people. But okay, yeah,
and then something about hunters shouldn't have the right to carry a gun because he was on drugs at the time, and that didn't infringe on his Second Amendment rights to have a gun anyway.
yeah, man,
But you can take Christmas pictures with your 3 and 4 year old with an AR-15 in their hand,
well, I mean, look, I mean, I,
and you're
I've,
a great parent.
I've, I've, I've known of, I know a particular dude who has a concealed carry license. He was pulled over one night, and he got taken to jail for having a gun on him. Now he actually and he had his credentials on him. Was he charged when he got downtown? No. Was he let go? Sure. After a while, but he still got
Yeah,
taken.
pain.
Yeah, he still did it, and knowing off top that that wasn't the right thing. So yeah, it is two tiered. But they're complaining about what's happening at the top of the tier. Well, we're
Right,
saying that the bottom is much worse.
right.
Um, and so that's kind of the issue.
Well, yeah, a lot of it just simply is when you're used to being on the top, you feel like there's a certain sense of insulation that keeps those things are for everybody else. Those things do not apply to me. And nobody wants to just flat out say it that way. And they honestly don't have to.
They don't
It's
have
all
to.
in their actions. All you got to do is just
Exactly.
read their actions to know that the expectation is this should not be able to touch me. And now it is. Now I feel it. Donald Trump. Now I feel it. Rudy Giuliani. Now I feel it. Hold on a second. Uh, Jenna Ellis. Now I feel it. Um, let's go. Mark Meadows. Now I feel it. Stuff got real. How about
Well,
Rudy
we
Giuliani?
need you because the chevrons and the graphics. This guy's been slow.
Yes. Sidney Powell. Now I feel it. Release the Kraken. John Eastman still believes that the election was stolen. Jenna Ellis mad now because Trump won't help pay her legal bills. And uh, Mr. Cheesebro all mad. And all of these folks have now been mugshotted, and soon we'll have Trump on there as well. But out of 19 people, 11 of them have already turned in and gotten their mugshots. A couple more have until 12 o'clock tomorrow to get down there to do the same. Stuff starts to get real, but because you're in this circle, this bubble, even when you think you have a certain proximity to power, you think that power insulates you from a lot of things. A lot of Congress people think the same thing because they can go around saying a lot of things and then they hide behind their speech and debate clause that protects them and insulates them from speech that could be construed as dangerous other than the fact that they're a U.S. congressperson.
Well, I mean, look, man, at every facet, if you get pulled over today and you have a speeding ticket and you go to court by yourself to fight it versus you have the money to hire an attorney to fight it, what's
Right.
the outcome? We all know that there's
Oh
a
yeah,
different outcome for that. We all
it's true.
know that.
You're going to jail.
And so our justice system is not about how much justice you can be afforded, but how much can you afford.
Right.
And so, um, and like I say, from the simplest things, right? From the simplest thing, like it again, like a DUI, which is a pretty serious thing. But how many people out there who had lawyers and stuff had multiple DUIs and never faced any real consequences because they were able to buy their way out of the consequences? And so that's the thing is that why do they feel entitled? Because they have resources or they're around resources and money and they believe that they can be able why should I have to do this thing because I'm not on that level anymore. And I get it, man. I, after I retired, I wasn't pulling any money in and I had to get back down to saltines uh, and tuna fish and sardines. And
Mm.
I thought I was past that.
Did you get the
And
sardines with the mustard already in it and the hot
uh,
sauce?
yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to bang it like that. That's good.
yeah, that's the only way to do
Don't
it.
nobody know about
Um,
that stuff. Don't nobody know
I
about
think I
that.
actually got some. I think after we get off here, I'm gonna give me some sardines. Anyway,
I'm making them hungry.
man, man, hungry. I just think about it. But sometimes you think that you've risen up to this level of stuff, and I'm steak 48, living in my life and stuff. And sometimes you gotta eat some of these sardines, baby.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Don't too much forget what they taste like because you might have to taste them again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is the time of the show where we're going to end up wrapping it up. But before we go, even though it's only two of us, we got time for one of what I don't like is. What do you have this week?
Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I do not like the number 77. I don't like 277. I don't like I-77. Um, boy, I tell you, I don't know if y'all want to die or not. I mean, please do it on your own time. Um, it is ridiculous. And then, like, when you go, anytime I pass somebody and they've been in a car accident and stuff, and they're looking like they got that funny look, I'm like, you were out here being a fool.
Yeah.
Now, there's probably one party in there who was probably just like, chilling and stuff, and somebody did something to him.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't like 277, and I do not like I-77. I do not
I got that. Uh, Sarah Parker says she does not like loud neighbors. Absolutely. I don't like loud neighbors either. I don't like neighbors period, especially the
like.
ones that sit there and let the kids walk outside half naked, running around, yelling, screaming. I don't like neighbors that got their dog out all day long and all he want to do is bark all damn day outside. Like we it's like having a crying baby at the movie theater. Don't nobody want to hear your baby crying all damn day.
I don't like that either, man. I don't like when people bring small children to places like that, and their whole thing is, well, I should be able to. No, no, you shouldn't. You need
No.
to stay
Because
home.
you made a decision,
Yeah,
so
you need to
that
stay
may
home.
mean that there's
One
certain
of
things
one
you're
of
not gonna
y'all
be able to
come
do.
and watch the movie and tell the other one when you get home what it was about.
Yeah, you may have to do that until a time is reached where I was just talking to somebody today about having a dog and letting them know, hey,
Mhm.
my dog is about to transition over to glory pretty soon, and we just preparing ourselves and getting ready for him to move on to glory. He can barely walk anymore. Today was just rough. It was even rougher today. And and then she was like, "Well, you gonna get another dog?" I'm like, "Absolutely not," because
I
that
love you, buddy.
that was a part of my life that, you know, yeah, I want to be able to just get up and go do things. And you cannot do that when you have an animal because before you can do anything, you have to bring into consideration what I'm going to do about my dog.
Yeah,
People
I
think
like I
about
like other people's animals.
people think of right, Animals are just like grandkids. They're good to play with and have fun with, but y'all about to leave? Oh, take his ass with you. You brought him, you're taking him back. and,
Yeah.
and, and and that and that's what I like. I love animals too, as long as I can say, all right, it's being real, deuces. Not I gotta put you in the pound. I mean in the pound, in the kennel, find go on rover, find a sitter, and those kind of things. That's not always ideal for everybody. And a lot of times there's costs associated with that. So if you're a spontaneous person that says, hey, it's Thursday night and I'm thinking about going to the beach tomorrow morning, when you have an animal, you cannot necessarily do that unless you just got some relative that's just dumb enough to take the animal off your hands every single time you feel the
I've
urge
never
to
been that
go run out of
spontaneous.
there. Huh?
I've never been that spontaneous, but yeah.
I'm at that point in my life now where I would love to do that. But when you have an animal, you have to think about making sure that they're taken care of first, and then you go do what you want to do. And I'm not saying I'm a selfish person. Well, maybe I am. Um, But I've done that, been there, done that. If you have an animal while you have kids, it's easier because whether it's the animal or the kids, you kind of can't be that spontaneous. But when the kids are out of the house and it's just you and your wife walking around butt naked all day, you should be able to just jump up and go to the beach if you want to, if you're able to, do that. And I
Yeah.
am, but having an animal, I can't. That is not what I don't like though, even though I don't like that. What I don't like is
What don't you like?
well, you were talking about traffic and everything. So, personal story, Monday, I'm just sitting out on the side of a road waiting to pick my nieces up from school. And I don't like it when people think that their needs always supersedes the greater good. And I was involved in a accident on Monday that was simply because a driver did not want to wait just a few seconds to pass me when it was clear. Thought that he passed me enough, but he was driving a 2-ton truck with a trailer and a crane on the back of it. And because he just simply could not wait a few extra seconds, ended up tearing the left side of my car to pieces, to the point, Jermaine, where now my car that I loved a lot has been totaled. Um, because they figured out that even though the police report said about $3,500 worth of damage, adjuster said no, it's more like 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost fell out when I read the report. I'm like, I'm sorry, how much?
Well, so background. My brother is wonderful and stuff, and I had some. I normally pick my girls up in the afternoon and stuff. They go to a charter school, so there's limited bus service. Nothing that comes by my house and stuff. And so I asked my dear brother. I said, "Hey, can you go by the school and pick the girls up for me? I'm not going to be able to get there on Monday and Tuesday on time. I got some training I got to do." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm a great big brother. I will do that for you." And so the problem in lies that I have a ninth grader who's in high school, right? She's a freshman. And then I have an eighth grader who's still in middle school. And so the high school lets out at 3 o'clock. The middle school does not let out to 3:25, and they will not let you in the line to go pick up um, until after 3:25. And
Mhm.
so my brother, who's diligent and stuff, got there a little bit early. And so the reason he was on the side of the road is because they sent him out of the line and said, "You can't pick up. You need to go sit on the side. You need to go somewhere. You can't go. You can't stay here." And so they sent him back out of the parking lot and stuff. So uh, he went back out, lines out there. He sits on the side of the road, um, waiting his turn. And probably about a minute later, you'd have been gone back into line,
Minute
pulled back
later,
out,
already pull out to go
got
get
back
him.
in line, picked up the girls, and dropped them off at my house for me.
Yeah, this happened
But
at 3:24, and I had to be back over there at 3:25.
yeah, and so literally 60 seconds away from getting back in line and going to pick up the girls and stuff, the trailer comes by, and you saw the pictures, but you had to really see it in person. And so, because when I saw it, it the trailer caught if it caught the left side, the driver's side of his Jeep, but it caught all of it on that side, and so it popped both tires. It crumpled both doors, back door, front door. I mean, it made a straight beeline.
To the point that the doors
From
would not just close shut. You had to lift
Yeah,
them up.
it crumpled the left side, and that's why. And so I came and got my brother, and followed him on the record and stuff. But the when I looked at it, and it caught so hard, it didn't just pop the tires and bend the rims and stuff. It bent the axles. And I looked at him. I told him then. I said, "Your car's totaled," because that's
Yeah.
half the car. They'd had to replace half the car.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that bad, but yeah, he said the adjuster said the way that trailer had gotten into the door and compromised it and that whole side, that there
Yeah,
was just no coming back from that. And then the front wheelbase was also cracked too, so they would have had to replace all of that too. So yeah, so now I'm
so
just
my
going
bad.
through the insurance process.
My bad. I feel bad.
Uh, never that. Not your fault with that. It's people that I don't like that don't take the time. They think they're in a rush and they think that what they have going on for them supersedes everything else around them, taking unnecessary calculations and chances when all he had to do was wait about 10 seconds for the traffic to kind of move up a little bit, and he would have been able to make a passable surround by me without compromising the things that now I have to go through to be able to become whole again. Thankfully, I wasn't hurt.
Yeah,
I did
that
love my
part.
little Jeep, but you have to always look at the brighter side of things that, hey, if he had gotten even closer, that not only could that door have been taken off, it could have taken off my left arm. Because I was totally not paying attention when he came by. I was looking down at my phone, reading an email when it happened, and it caught me off guard. So anything could have happened. That trailer could have swiped me a little bit harder, and it could have brought the door into me. And then that there could have been some other issues. So there's a lot of things that could have played out. So I'm
Yeah, yeah,
thankful that my Jeep, I'm gonna miss her, but she did everything she could to keep me from harm,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she did protect me
Yeah.
on her
They
last
don't
ride.
build women like that no more.
Yeah, I can't even find a woman that'll do that. So my Jeep had to do it for me. No, I'm just kidding. I've so much ran over time. You can tell Lori ain't here because I done well ran over the
Oh
time.
man, we're almost in 2 hours. Let's just go for a full 2 hours.
We're not gonna do that because I know she's gonna be like, "See what happens when I'm not."
Yeah, but we miss you, Lawyer. We're just out here talking.
Yeah, we had already talked before too about just having a Parker Brothers podcast, and I'm still thinking about that. I got a good name for a podcast that I would love to do. So
Well, I've been able to at least hook up my mic.
yeah,
My camera, which I've had the camera for a while. I just hadn't been able to figure out how to hook it up. I'm so hopefully next week you get a better studio view from me, and I continue to grow and stuff. And I really am. I keep saying I'm gonna bring my podcast back, but I really am. And there's some other people who want to do some podcasting with me and stuff. So I said we could do that.
there you go. But yeah, I'm still considering the head to head talk your ish podcast.
I'm
Oh,
good.
because
I'm
I kind of want to have a more open forum of just putting some s out there.
Sounds wonderful.
But
Sounds really good.
I'm gonna close it up. But first, I do have a public service announcement. I don't know who needs to hear this, but here goes.
Get home and raise your kids! Oh my gosh!
Boy, I tell you, just when I thought I was dead.
No. I can bring stuff out. I can bring stuff out. Oh, these were goodies. All right, y'all. That's gonna do it for us. Thank y'all for tuning in. Again, happy anniversary to CJ and
Yeah.
Catherine, and get well, Lolo. And we will do it all again next week. Y'all be safe out there. Watch out for crazy people driving trucks with trailers on them. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the